Lin Hao applied the oil on his face, squatted in a corner of the old machine armor warehouse, staring at the broken iron lump in front of him that was about to fall apart. This thing is his entire home. It is an old E17 model, an official model that has been eliminated. Now no one wants it even when sold in the iron. He sneered, knocked on the leg armor of the machine armor, making a hollow sound of bang bang. Old guy, if we can't handle this broken engine today, we really have to drink the northwest wind. Lin Hao said to himself, holding a snail knife in his mouth, and was about to try to practice it again. But at this moment, a rapid sound of footsteps came from outside the warehouse, and then a chubby figure rushed in. Howzy! Howzy! Big discovery! I found a good place! The fat was panting, his face was full of excitement, and his sweat dripped to the ground. Lin Hao rolled his eyes and spit out the screw knife. What did you find again? The last time you said Tibetan was a garbage pile. I dug out a broken tire after a long time. This time is different. It's really different. Xiaopeng patted his chest and said in a low voice, I heard that there is an old battlefield site on the ruins. The listener said that the armor parts left by the war that year were buried. Let's go and vote, and I might be able to turn over. Lin Hao was happy as soon as he heard it. What do you think that is? The supermarket is discounted. I also gave a ticket. The military has already blocked the place in the ruins. If you go in, you are looking for death. Hey, what are you afraid of? I've heard that the military has been relaxed recently. There is a small path to walk in. Howzy, we're almost gone to eat, how can we not fight? The fat guy's eyes were shiny and his face was looking forward to it. Lin Hao hesitated for a moment, looked at the broken armor on his side, and touched the few hard coins left in his pocket, gritted his teeth and said, okay, I've done it. But I'll tell you, find something to divide it equally. It's necessary. Xiaopeng slapped his thighs, and the two of them immediately packed up their tools and touched the ruins while the night was dark. The ruins are surrounded by a skeleton belt left after the war. At the end are collapsed buildings and skeleton-derived mechanical slaughter, and the air is filled with a fishy smell. Lin Hao and the fat cat were wearing their waists, along the path that the fat boy said, avoiding several monitoring probes, and finally slipping into the core area. That's it. Xiaopeng pointed to a pile of collapsed armored bones in front of him and said in a low voice, I heard that there are good things buried here, let's dig it out. Without saying a word, Lin Hao took out the belt-type excavation tool and started to fuck. The two dug for half an hour and were sweating profusely. Finally, they heard a click sound, as if they had dug up some hard object. Lin Hao's heart thumped, and he slashed open the soil layer, revealing a piece of black stuff. What's this? Xiaopeng came over and saw it and was stunned. It was a metal plate the size of a palm, with complex patterns engraved on the surface, and a dark blue light was emitting on the edge. Although Lin Hao was just a repairman, he realized at a glance that this is not an ordinary product. He carefully lifted it up and bought the ice cream, and could feel a faint wave of energy. This is not the core component of the machine armor mentioned, right? Lin Hao's voice was trembling. He only heard this kind of thing in the old repairman's brag after drinking, saying it was only available in the top-level mechanical armor during the war, which can double the mechanical armor's strength and even have independent awareness. I've lost money. Howzy, we've lost money. Xiaopeng clapped his hands excitedly. Don't yell. Lin Hao rushed into the room and said in a low voice, if the army knows this thing, we will have no life. Go back first. The two of them returned to the warehouse at night, but Lin Hao felt that he was not sleeping, so he began to study this mysterious component. He searched through all the repair manuals on his head and finally confirmed that this thing is an energy core module, which is theoretically compatible with any machine armor, but the risk is extremely high, so he might directly blow up the machine. Fight! Lin Hao gritted his teeth and decided to install it on his broken armor. Anyway, this E17 has long been half dead, and there is nothing to worry about if it explodes. The installation process was easier than imagined. The moment the parts were embedded in the core slot of the machine armor, the entire machine suddenly sounded a low sound, as if it had come alive. The originally dim indication light of the armor lit up, the blue light flowed, and even the polished armor was hidden. "It's done!" Lin Hao punched the table, his face full of redness. He jumped into the driving and started the system. The reaction speed of the armor was at least 3 times faster than before, and the energy output increased to an awesome level. "Howzy, is this thing really useful? You won't fall off the chain halfway, right?" Xiaopeng stood aside, a little worried. "You'll know if you try it." Lin Hao grinned, and the control armor made several simple movements, and even brought a sound when the fist was knocked out. But the thrilling robbery suddenly erupted outside the warehouse, followed by an emergency broadcast in the military communication channel. All repairers and backup machines gathered immediately. The border outpost was attacked and urgently needed support. Lin Hao and Xiaopeng looked at each other and were both stunned. "Enemy? Why did this happen to them? Howzy, what should I do? It won't be possible if I don't go. The military stipulates that the order will be directly dealt with by the deserter." Xiaopeng rubbed his hands in a hurry. "Go, of course." Lin Hao's eyes flashed with determination. It's just right to try the power of this new equipment. The battleground at the border outpost was in chaos, and the enemy's armored team came to fight and had already pressed the outpost guards. When Lin Hao and Xiaopeng arrived, the scene was already full of slaughter, and several of the main armaments of the army were beaten back. "Waste. They are all a bunch of waxes." In the middle of the battle, a pitch-black high-level motor armor stood, and the driver's voice was transmitted through the speaker, full of disdain. "You are the only group of garbage, and you are also equipped with motor armor hands? Return to the base to wipe the floor." Lin Hao heard the eyebrows straighten and asked Xiaopeng, "Who is this? Why are you so arrogant?" Xiao Lei, the genius team leader of the military Xinqing, heard that the war was tough, but his temper was so bad that he looked down on us like a base. Xiaopeng curled his lips and muttered in a low voice. Lin Hao sneered and ignored him. He directly opened his broken armor and rushed into the battlefield, aiming to directly target a medium-sized armor of the enemy. The enemy armor was attacking the remaining defenders at the outpost, and their firepower was fully opened, which made the opponent unable to breathe. "Hey, waste! Don't give it to everyone, it's far away." Xiao Lei's voice sounded again, with a mockery. Lin Haoshu ignored him and controlled the armor to avoid the enemy's artillery fire. He then accelerated suddenly and hit the core of the opponent's right fist. Originally, this kind of broken armor could not break the defense at all, but this time it was different. With a low sound, a group of blue light burst out from the fist, directly smashing the enemy armor into a big hole. Still, the enemy armor fell to the ground with a sound, and a black smoke appeared. All the soldiers around were stunned. Even Xiao Lei, who was pointing, stopped and stared in Lin Hao's direction through the armor screen. "What's going on with this kid?" Some soldiers couldn't help but be surprised. "Trouble, what is that? Can the E-17 have such power?" Another repairman was also stunned. Lin Hao sat in the driving seat, listening to the discussion outside, feeling very happy. He didn't stop, turned around and locked another enemy armor. He moved several flexible positions and directly turned the other party into a group, and finally smashed the opponent's core again with a heavy punch. The 2 enemy armors were connected to the verge of the enemy, and the enemy team could not bear it and began to retreat. The soldiers at the war scene burst into tears, and some even shouted directly, "This brother is awesome. Where's the fierce man?" Only then did Lin Hao jump out of the armor, wiped his sweat and grinned. But before he could enjoy this gift, a black machine armor walked over slowly and stopped in front of him, feeling a lot of pressure. "Oh, it's quite good to install. A person who repairs a machine armor dares to go to the battlefield to get into danger?" Xiao Lei's voice came from the machine armor, and his language was full of picking. "You're broken thing, can you fight 2 garbage machine armors, but you think you are a character? Do you believe it or not, I will wipe you out with one move?" Lin Hao raised his head and looked at the black armor, not afraid at all, and grinned. "If you have the ability to try it, don't just say it's not practice." Zhao Lei snorted coldly. The weapon system of the armor had already started to be charged, and the atmosphere on the scene suddenly became tight. The soldiers around him dared not make a sound, and they retreated, leaving a clearing space. The little fat stomped his feet in an anxious mood and shouted in a low voice, "Haozi, don't be moved, this guy is serious." Lin Hao was not panicked at all. He patted his armor, his eyes flashing. "Come on, I want to see how many geniuses of the army are." Lin Hao stood in the middle of the battle, and the old E-17 armor emitted a faint blue light, confronting Zhao Lei's black high-level armor. The air was filled with the smell of fire, and the soldiers around him held their breath, and no one dared to say anything. Xiaopeng stood aside, sweating profusely, and muttered in a slight voice, "Haozi, don't be too big. This guy is really not easy to mess with. What are you afraid of?" Lin Hao grinned, with a stubborn voice in his voice. "How can I know how capable like this old guy, can I fight?" He patted the armor on the chest, his eyes full of challenge. Zhao Lei snorted coldly. The weapon system of the armor emitted a low bird. The energy muzzle had begun to accumulate strength, and the faint green light became brighter and brighter. He said coldly through the communication channel, "Okay, since you are looking for death, I will fulfill you. Do you dare to jump in front of me with a waste of machine armor? Let you know what a world of difference is. Stop talking, come." Lin Hao jumped into the driving force and operated his fingers quickly on the control panel. The energy core module of the armor emitted a light buzz, and the blue light instantly stormed, and the entire armor seemed to have been injected with new life. He could feel that the power of this mysterious component had not yet been greatly exerted. Strange. Zhao Lei took the lead, and the energy cannon rushed Lin Hao straight into it, so fast that the naked eye could hardly see clearly. The soldiers around were shocked, and some even subconsciously closed their eyes, thinking that Lin Hao would definitely be done with this trick. But Lin Hao squirted at the corner of his mouth, and the control armor rolled over and over. His movements were as sharp as wild animals, and he could dodge this blow. The cannon hit the ground behind him, and a large pit exploded, causing dust to fly. "Hitting well, waste." Zhao Lei's voice was ridiculed, but he was obviously a little surprised. He did not expect that Lin Hao's broken armor could have such a reaction speed. "Thank you for your reward," Lin Hao replied, and took advantage of the moment when Zhao Lei was so angry that he accelerated and rushed forward. Although his armor is old, after loading the mysterious component, the energy output does not increase at all, and even produces stronger power in a short period of time. He rushed straight to the core of the Zhao Lei armor with a heavy punch, and the blue light flashed on the fist, which was amazing. "Want to steal? Make a dream." Zhao Lei did not react slowly. He flashed his body on the side of the armor, and raised the alloy blade of his left arm and slashed Lin Hao's armor waist with his backhand. This knife was so powerful that if it hits, the old-fashioned motor armor like E-17 will be decisively reported. Lin Hao was nervous, but his subordinates were unreasonable. He jumped back suddenly, dodged the blade, and at the same time started the booster of the motor armor, surfed from the side to Zhao Lei's body, grabbed the opportunity and punched it down again. This punch hit the back of the Zhao Lei mail armor, and a deep bang sounded. The black mail armor stumbled forward 2 steps, and even a slight crack appeared on the armor. "What?" Zhao Lei's voice finally shocked. He didn't expect that Lin Hao's cracking armor could actually break his high-level armor. You should know that his armor is the latest model of the army, and his defense is top-notch among the same level. The soldiers around were also stunned. Someone commented in a low voice, "Who is this kid? Can an E-17 be like this? Awesome, if this is sold out, Zhao Lei's face will be unstoppable." Another soldier chuckled in his throat. The little fat man was so excited that he rushed straight into his fist and yelled at Lin Hao, "Haozi, you're doing a pretty job. Just punch him again." Lin Hao gasped and sat in the driving wheel, his heartbeat accelerated. He knew that although this punch was very good, it almost wiped out the energy explosion of the short-term armor. If Zhao Lei attacked several more fiercely, he would probably not be able to withstand this broken armor. Sure enough, Zhao Lei quickly calmed down his feet, the armor turned over, and the energy cannon was charged again. This time the light was even more dazzling than it was. He gritted his teeth and said in a low voice, "Okay, very good. Waste, you have successfully angered me. Next, I want to let you know what is absolutely crushing." Lin Hao had a snail and thought to himself that it was not good. He was about to dodge again, but suddenly he heard Xiaopeng shouting in the communication channel, "Haozi, don't fight hard, withdraw. This guy is going to use his ultimate move." But it's too late. Zhao Lei's energy cannon suddenly fired, and a thick beam of light rushed towards Lin Hao, so fast that it could not escape. Lin Hao bit his teeth tightly and could only lift his arms to slimly with his head and control armor. The blue light and green light collided in the air, exploding a dazzling strong light. Then there was a huge impact wave, which directly lifted Lin Hao's armor and smashed heavily to the ground. Room! A big pit was smashed out of the ground. Lin Hao's armor was blazing with black smoke, indicating that the lights were flashing in dark, as if they were going to be extinguished at any time. "Haozi!" Xiaopeng shouted and hurried over, his face turned white. Zhao Lei's armor approached, looked at Lin Hao on the ground with a high place, and sneered, "Waste is a waste, challenge me? Download it." After saying that, he turned around and prepared to leave, as if he didn't even bother to look at Lin Hao again. Lin Hao lay in the driving wheel, feeling sore, and a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. He murmured in a low voice, "Download? I will let you remember who I am." He knocked on the control panel suddenly, and the core module of the machine armor emitted a faint blue light again, as if responding to his anger, and stood up again. "Can you still move?" Zhao Lei looked back and was stunned for a moment, and then snorted disdainfully, "I don't see that the coffin will not fall, right? Okay, I'll give you another ride." But at this moment, a powerful voice from the old man suddenly came from the battlefield, "Stop. The military genius, is that so much? Do you have to kill it if you win?" Everyone looked at the sound and saw an old man wearing a ragged repair suit walking over, leaning on a stick, full of stubble, looking like an ordinary waste recycling worker. But his eyes were so scary that he could see through people's hearts directly. "Old, who will interfere with your lord in the military?" Zhao Lei glanced at him coldly, his language was full of contempt. "Military affairs? Bah!" The old man spat and said without any politely, "When I was fighting that year, you little boy was still drinking milk. Why, is it very fulfilling to bully a bottom-level boy?" Zhao Lei's face darkened, and he was obviously angry by this, but he seemed a little jealous and did not dare to act directly. He snorted coldly and said, "You are going to leave today, waste." Then the driver's armor turned away. Only then did Lin Hao crawl out of the armor, wipe the blood from his face, and thrust the old man and said, Thank you, boss, if it weren't for you, I would have really fallen into this today. Xiaowu, just call me Lao Wang." The old man raised his hand and looked up and down at Lin Hao's armor. His eyes suddenly became deeper. "Boy, your armor isn't simple. Where did you come from?" Lin Hao felt nervous and thought about being confused, but looking at Lao Wang's eyes, it seemed that he had seen through everything long ago. He hesitated for a moment and said in a low voice, "The parts dug out from the ruins are like this when they are installed." After hearing this, Lao Wang was silent for a moment, and then pointed, "It was indeed it. I didn't expect that this thing could still re-see the light of day." He looked up at Lin Hao, his temperament became serious. "Boy, this part is not an ordinary color. It was a core module of the genre during the war that year. The army deliberately hid its existence because its power was enough to overturn their control. Holding it was equivalent to holding a potato with burning hands. The military is hidden?" Lin Hao was stunned for a moment, and then his eyebrows were tightly locked. "Are you saying that they deliberately did not let us these bottom-level people contact things?" "Wind." Lao Wang sneered, "The military's high-level wishes you will always be cannon fodder and be their pawns forever. If they discover this part, you will not be able to save your life." Xiaopeng was stunned by the sound and interrupted, "What should I do?" "Haozi, aren't you really being targeted, right?" Lin Hao gritted his teeth and clenched his fists. "What if I'm going to be with me? I finally have the chance to turn over. How about I still have to shrink back and be a waste? Lao Wang looked at Lin Hao, and his eyes flashed with appreciation. I'm a little bit crazy, okay? Since you are not afraid of death, I will help you. I was also an armored warrior back then. I know the secret of this part more clearly than anyone else. If you want to become stronger, you can learn from me, but in a flash, training is not something you can do. You may have your life at any time. Lin Hao's eyes lit up and he immediately said, study. As long as it can be stronger, I will do it even if I take my life. Okay. Old Wang laughed and turned around and walked out of the battleground. Then come with me. From today on, you will be my apprentice. Xiaopeng chased after him and shouted, wait for me. I can help you too. Lin Hao looked at Lao Wang's back, and a fire ignited in his heart. Although he was beaten up by Zhao Lei just now, this battle also made him understand that the potential of this part was beyond imagination. As long as he learns from Lao Wang, he will sooner or later step on the thunder under his feet. In the next few days, Lin Hao followed Lao Wang to a deserted training ground. There were broken targets and skeletons, as if no one had taken care of them in decades. Lao Wang set a rule for Lin Hao on the first day: if you want to become stronger, you must first lay the foundation. No matter how powerful the machine armor is, the person you control is a vegetable bird, which is useless. Lin Hao didn't say anything, and directly opened his E17 and started training. The things of Lao Wang's sect are so hardcore that they can tell the truth from the most basic move to the energy distribution, and even how to use the smallest action to deceive enemies on the battlefield. Lin Hao sweats heavily every day, and the core module of the machine armor is forced to explode again and again, and he almost loads several times. Old Wang, why do you feel less and less listening to this part? Sometimes the energy suddenly drops. Lin Hao wiped his sweat and couldn't help asking. Lao Wang glanced at him and said lightly, this is the special point of the component. It has its own hot energy, which is not something you can use as long as you want. You have to run in with it to make it recognize you, otherwise it will fry it sooner or later. Agree with me? Lin Hao was stunned, feeling that this sounded so mysterious, but seeing Lao Wang's expression was not like a joke, he could only continue practicing with his head. After several days of life, Lin Hao's control skills suddenly and vigorously, and the reaction speed and fighting rhythm of the armor were all filed several times. He can even use E17 to complete some tricks that are available in high-level armor. Every time he hits the target, he can hear Xiaopeng crying and screaming, Haozi, you are going to go against the will of heaven. Lin Hao felt so happy that he felt that his glory on the battlefield was getting closer and closer. But just when he thought everything was in turmoil, the military's urgent communication broke the silence again. All machine-armored hands should go to the central base immediately to participate in the assessment. Those who do not participate will be treated as illegal. The sound in the communication channel was cold, and it made people feel uncomfortable. Assessment? What's going on? Xiaopeng was confused and turned to ask Lao Wang. Lao Wang's face darkened and said in a low voice, the army conducts this kind of assessment every year. On the surface, it is to select talents, but on the actual situation is to select cannon fodder. A base-level machine-armored player like you will be a target and give them high-level warriors. Lin Hao sneered, practitioner? Then I want to see who is practicing. He turned to Lao Wang, his eyes fixed, I'm going. Isn't it just an assessment? I'm worried that I have no chance to take revenge. Lao Wang pointed his head and didn't silence anymore, but just said, be careful, the military's assessment has never been simple, especially that boy Zhao Lei, who will definitely trouble you. On the day of the assessment, the training grounds of the central base were crowded with people, and countless machine-armored handhelds gathered together, and the air was filled with a tight atmosphere. As soon as Lin Hao opened his E17, he attracted a lot of private words. Do you dare to come here with this broken bullet armor? Are you not afraid of being wiped out? Someone laughed in a low voice. Hey, don't say it. I heard that this guy killed 2 enemy armors at the border outpost a few days ago, which was quite fierce. Another man retorted in a low voice. Lin Hao ignored these discussions and glanced over the crowd, and soon locked in a familiar black armor. Zhao Lei was standing in the center of the field, with a group of military armors squeezing him, like a star supporting the moon. "Oh, waste, do you really dare to come?" Zhao Lei's voice came through the communication channel. His language was full of chores. "I didn't deal with you last time, but no one saved you this time." Lin Hao grinned and replied lightly, "That's not accurate. Maybe you are asking for a gift this time?" Zhao Lei snorted coldly, obviously not being so angry about this. He turned to the examiner of the assessment and said a few words in a low voice. The examiner pointed at the head and then announced, "The first round assessment is survival and confrontation." All the armored players entered the simulated war scene, and they held on until the last 10 people passed. "Start!" As the voice fell, the ground of the training ground suddenly changed, the simulated war system started, and countless virtual enemy armors rose around, with all firepower open and directly starting to shoot. The scene suddenly became a group, and many AS caught off guard and were eliminated within a few minutes. Lin Hao quickly entered the state, and the control armor rushed through the battlefield, avoiding artillery fire while countering the virtual enemy. His movement and attack rhythm are obviously much higher than other armored players, and he will win almost every shot, and his elimination speed is amazing. This kid, there are indeed 2 tricks. A high-level army spoke on the battlefield. But just as Lin Hao was gradually venting out, a black armor suddenly rushed over from the side and headed straight for his back. Lin Hao's heart was tightened, and he suddenly flicked his body, avoiding an energy cannon. "Zhao Lei, what do you mean? The assessment rules are not allowed to be killed by yourself, right?" Lin Hao gritted his teeth and asked through the communication channel. "Rules? Ah, who saw it?" Zhao Lei sneered. The armor accelerated again, and the weapon system was fully opened. "In this battle, eliminating you is the biggest rule." Lin Hao's eyes turned cold, knowing that this guy was heartbroken and wanted to kill him. He quickly adjusted the armor state, and the blue light flashed again, ready to fight. But at this moment, Zhao Lei's armor suddenly released an electromagnetic wave of interference, and Lin Hao's armor system instantly lost its spirit, and the screen was full of snowflakes. "It's bad." Lin Hao's heart sank, realizing that this was not a single attack. Zhao Lei moved his feet. His armor was completely out of control, and he saw an energy cannon coming straight and unable to escape. Room! The huge explosion sounded, and Lin Hao's armor was blown away for several meters and fell heavily to the ground. The warning lights of the driving wheels flickered wildly, and the system prompted that the energy was about to be consumed. "Haozi!" Xiaopang shouted in the battle area, stomping his feet in a hurry. Zhao Lei approached, and the gun of the armor approached Lin Hao, and said coldly, "Waste, this is the next scene that challenges me. If you die, no one will stand out for you." Lin Hao bit his teeth tightly, and was sweating all over. He tried to restart the system, but the machine armor no longer heard the phone. Anger ignited in his heart, staring at Zhao Lei's armor with a deep look, muttering in a low voice, "Old guy, don't lose the chain, give me some strength." Just as the hair was so strong that the core module of the armor suddenly sounded a low horn, and the blue light suddenly swelled, as if responding to Lin Hao's roar. The system screen lights up again, and the energy indicator rises at a speed visible to the naked eye. Lin Hao's eyes lit up and he knocked down the control key suddenly. The armor actually stood up again. Although the break was severe, his energy was not reduced. He grinned at Zhao Lei, "Wanna kill me? Let's practice for a few more years." Lin Hao's armor stood up suddenly, and the blue light jumped on the broken armor, as if it would be extinguished at any time, but the unyielding aura made people unable to move. He stared at Zhao Lei's black armor, gritted his teeth, and his voice was low, "Want to eliminate me? Be a dream." Zhao Lei was stunned for a moment, and then sneered and said, "You are tough-mouthed, right? Okay, I want to see. You can still hold this broken thing for a few seconds." His armor weapon system was charged again, and the light from the energy muzzle became more and more dazzling, and he obviously planned to solve Lin Hao with one blow. The little fat man in the war zone was so anxious that he was sweating. He yelled in the communication channel, "Housey, don't fight hard. The system is almost wiped out, please withdraw." But Lin Hao's impolite was ignorant, and there was only a fire in his eyes. He knew that this battle was not only an assessment, but also a respectful measure. If he is jealous now, he doesn't want to raise his head. "Old guy, let me fight." Lin Hao growled, and his fingers quickly operated on the control panel, trying to squeeze out the last bit of energy from the core module. The blue light flashed again. Although it was weak, the reaction speed of the armor actually increased by a fraction. He suddenly stepped on his side, avoided Zhu Lei's energy cannon, and then accelerated his thrust with his right fist and hit the weak point of the opponent's armor's waist. Bang! Although this punch didn't have much strength, it was so accurate that it hit the energy transmission line of the Zhao Lei armor. The movement of the black armor instantly broke, and the weapon system was short and lost its power. What? Zhao Lei's voice finally panicked. He didn't expect that Lin Hao could still fight back in such a situation and beat so accurately. He gritted his teeth and tried to reboot the system, but Lin Hao didn't give him any chance. He controlled the armor and stabbed several small areas, and used the fist and the thunder. The surrounding armored hands were stunned. Who would have thought that an old E-17 could force the military genius to this extent? The high-level face of the military on the battlefield also became difficult to look, and someone whispered, "Where is this kid? The armor is almost broken, can it still be like this?" I guess the energy is so strong." Another high-level snorted coldly, but there was a little more vigilance in his eyes. At the battle, although Lin Hao had taken the upper hand at a while, he knew in his heart that his armor had reached the limit. With each action, the warning sound of the driving wheel becomes more rapid, and the energy indicators are almost complete. But he bit his teeth tightly and kept it down. He knew that as long as he dragged it for a while, Zhao Lei's system would be rebooted and he would not be able to stop. "Housey, it's over. The virtual enemy troops in the simulated war are almost over. You are already in the top 10, don't fight anymore." Xiaopeng shouted anxiously in the communication channel. Lin Hao gasped and glanced at the situation of the battle. Sure enough, there were only a few left in the simulated enemy armor, and most of the other armor hands were eliminated, with less than 10 people left on the battlefield. He finally relaxed his breath, took a few steps back when controlling the machine armor, and Zhao Lei grinned, "You are so lucky in this game. If you encounter it next time, no one will save you." Zhao Lei's face was blue. Although the armor after the system was restarted, the scene where Lin Hao just pressed him down had already lost his face. He glared at Lin Hao fiercely and whispered a curse, "Don't be proud of the waist, you'll look good behind you." After saying that, he turned away from the battlefield and stopped participating in the final battle. At the end of the first round of the assessment, Lin Hao's armor was almost wiped out, dragging his broken body back to the entire prefecture. The first move of Xiaopeng came over, patting his shoulder, and was so excited that he was speechless. "Housey, you are so awesome. I thought you were going to hang up just now, but in the end I was so angry that I could die of thunder." Lin Hao grinned and wiped the sweat from his face. "What awesome, I almost really hung up. If this broken armor is not repaired, I will be able to get the next round." He patted the armor, and there was a flash of excitement in his eyes. Although the battle was fierce, it also made him understand the temperament of this core module, as if there was a tacit understanding between him and the armor. Lao Wang also left at this time, leaning on the iron stick, with no expression on his face, but just said lightly, "It's okay, I didn't let me lose my life. But boy, don't be too proud, the real trouble is still behind." Misfortune? What does it mean? Lin Hao was stunned and turned to look at Lao Wang. Lao Wang glanced at the military high-level on the battlefield in a low voice, "The performance of your armor is too eye-catching. The secret of that piece of component won't last long. The military high-level will not allow a bottom-level person to hold this thing and take a few wheels in the head after the assessment. They will definitely tell you, and may even directly snatch it." Lin Hao's eyebrows burst into tears, and his heart skipped a beat. He asked in a low voice, "What should I do? Trial? Don't even think about it." Lao Wang snorted coldly, "This thing is your machine, and handing over it is equivalent to handing over your life to them. I will use the war and skills I teach you. Next, I will use it well. Assess every will with all my strength and prove your value. Only when they see your potential will they not dare to move you easily." Lin Hao pointed his head and clenched his fists. "Okay, I understand. Isn't it just an assessment? I'll fight to the end." Xiaopeng interrupted, "Haozi, you said it was a battle, did you hear it? This assessment is actually the preliminary of the top-level mechanical competition. Through the test, you can directly enter the main competition of the major competition. If you hear it, you can get the lead by winning. Top Armor Grand Tournament?" Lin Hao's eyes lit up, and a fire ignited in his heart. He had heard this big game long ago, which was the ultimate stage for all the armored players. If he won, he would not only get a huge bonus, but also directly change his fate. Most importantly, this is the best opportunity to prove to everyone that they can do, especially those high-level military personnel who look down on him. Yes, that's it. Xiaopeng rubbed his hands excitedly. "I also heard that there was a high level of military control behind this big game. They wanted to hold their pick. If you can kill them and hit them hard on the face, it would be more pleasant than anything." Lin Hao sneered, "Put on the face? I like to do this the most. Lao Wang, what should I do next? Let me give you an accurate answer." Lao Wang pointed his head and his eyes became serious. "Okay, since you have this determination, don't waste time. The next few rounds of assessments will only be more difficult, and that boy Zhao Lei will not be good at rest. I will teach you a few tricks to combat the bottom of the box, and the special point of the special point to the high-level armor. In addition, you have to work with Xiaopeng to repair the armor these days, and the potential of the core module has not yet been fully released." "No problem." Lin Hao patted his chest and turned to Xiaopeng. "What's the story about yours? Is there any insider news from the army?" Xiaopeng smiled and took out an old data ending from his pocket. "You don't say that I broke into an internal channel of the military last night. Although I only got some fragmented information, I can basically confirm that Lao Wang said it is right. The military is actually pressing the civilian machine armor. They locked most of the high-level components in the secret warehouse, and only they can use it. Even the rules of the big game are biased towards the military's pickup. Boke, this group of people really doesn't want to face." Lin Hao gritted his teeth in his ears, and his fists were clenched. "Okay, I'll remember this. When I enter the main game, I have to lift their harshness upside down." Lao Wang added on the side, "Revealing the ruthlessness is not a matter of a day or a night. Focus on the front first. The second round of the assessment is a team confrontation. You have to find a few reliable people to form a team, otherwise a single gun will easily be attacked by the army." Lin Hao pointed his head and had already made plans in his mind. In the next few days, he and Xiaopeng were busy repairing the machine, and Lao Wang was responsible for special training and his combat coordination. Although the training was exhausted, Lin Hao could clearly feel that his running in with the armor was getting better and better. There were even a few times when the core module actively released energy beyond expectations, allowing his armor to explode with amazing combat power. The second round of the assessment arrived as scheduled. This time was a simulated team battle, requiring each team to complete a designated task together, to seize the enemy's point. Lin Hao and several familiar bottom-layer machine armor handsets have formed a team. Although the machine armor configuration is not very good, it is still a tacit understanding when it comes to cooperating. After the competition began, Lin Hao led his team to attack and used the War of Lao Wang cult to force several teams with military backgrounds. Although his E-17 was broken, under his control, it was as simple as a ghost in a war scene, dodging, stealing, and exploding. Every time he took action, he caught his opponent off guard. This kid is coming to catch the risk again. Some military picks gritted their teeth, and were so angry. Don't waste your time, surround him, don't let him get close to the point. Another military player ordered in a low voice, and several high-level armors quickly adjusted their shapes, and the test pushed Lin Hao's team into a dead end. Lin Hao saw through the other party's ideas at a glance, sneered, and said through the channel inside the team, "Brothers, don't panic, listen to me, let's wings from the side and directly copy their lair." He shook his head, and the blue light of the armor flashed, and he forced a gap to break the enemy's point. The battle was shocking. Although Lin Hao's team lost 2 team members, they finally managed to win the second round of victory. After the competition, there was a burst of cry on the spot, and many bottom-level armored hands looked at Lin Hao's eyes, full of admiration. But Lin Hao knew in his heart that the price of this profitable one is quite high. His armor was loaded again at the last sprint, and the energy fluctuations of the core module became even more unstable, and there were even several times that they almost lost control. "Lao Wang, what's going on with this part? I feel less and less aware of it." After the competition, Lin Hao found Lao Wang and was filled with worry. Lao Wang checked and his face darkened. "I have said a long time ago that this thing has its own temper. You have been too ruthless recently, and it has begun to resist. If the energy is not stable, it may directly explode in the next battle." Fried aircraft? Lin Hao felt nervous and gritted his teeth immediately. "What's the solution? I can't drop the chain at this time." "There is a way, but the risk is quite high." Lao Wang was silent for a moment and said in a low voice, "You have to recalibrate the energy frequency of the core module to let it fully recognize you. But this process must directly connect your understanding with the armor. If you are not careful, your brain may be damaged. Do you dare to try?" After hearing this, Lin Hao was stunned for a few seconds, then grinned and said, "What's there to dare to do? Come on." The calibration process was even more dangerous than I thought. Lin Hao was sitting in the driving box, wearing the connecting device modified by Lao Wang, and only felt that a pain was thrusting his brain, as if someone was smashing his chest and his brain with a knife. The energy waves of the core module flooded his mind like a flood, almost swallowing him up. "Hold on, boy. Keep your mind calm and don't be crushed by it." Lao Wang's voice sounded in his ears, like a thunderbolt far away. Lin Hao gritted his teeth and was sweating all over, so he took it down. I don't know how long it took, but the pain finally resolved. He could feel that the core module of the armor seemed to have an extra layer of contact with him. The blue light no longer jumped, but flowed stably. "It's done." Old Wang relaxed his voice and patted Lin Hao on the shoulder. "Boy, you're so lucky, it's okay. From now on, this part will finally recognize you. The next battle will surprise you even more." Lin Hao grinned, and before he could speak, Xiaopeng hurried over and his face turned pale. "Haozi, something happened. I just got into a military channel and heard that they were discussing you. They said that there was something wrong with your armor, and they suspected that you had taken something you shouldn't have, and planned to directly snatch it before the main game." After Lin Hao finished hearing this, his eyes turned cold and he clenched his fists. "Breaking? Then come and try it. I want to see who dares to move my things." Lao Wang pointed his head and looked deep. "It seems that the real battle has only begun now. Are you ready?" Lin Hao grinned and was full of fighting spirit. "It's already ready. The main game of the grand tournament is high level, and there are also thunders. Let's come one by one." Lin Hao stood in the corner of the entire area, staring at the newly repaired E-17 armor. The blue light flowed slowly on the surface of the armor, like a wild beast ready to explode at any time. There was a fire in his eyes, and there was only one thought in his heart: the top-level athletic championship, and today is the day to fight. He wants to use this game to not only beat the Thunder, but also to completely expose the enemy's tragedy so that everyone can see their true faces clearly. "Haozi, are you ready? This battle is not simple. Zhao Lei's guy has been shutting down training recently and heard that the army has replaced him with a new high-level armor, with more firepower than before." Xiaopeng came over, holding the data end in his hand and said tightly, "What's the matter with fierceness? Isn't this broken bullet armor the same way that I can beat him up to fine teeth?" Lin Hao grinned and patted the armor on the chest, full of confidence. After the last time he connected his consciousness with the core module, his running in with the machine armor has reached a new level. Now every action seems to be an instinctive reaction, so unrestrained that people cannot find fault. Lao Wang walked over with a stick and glanced at Lin Hao. His temperament was plain, but he had a few points on his face. Boy, don't be too crazy. Thunder is a trivial matter, and the real trouble is the military's high level. They will definitely be on the scene today. It doesn't matter to win. What matters is how you shake out their secrets so that they can't hide them anymore. Lin Hao pointed his head and his fists were clenched. Don't worry, Lao Wang, today I not only want to win, but also win beautifully. I have to take advantage of their tribute, and I have to take advantage of the national live broadcast and give them all. The game was decided in the core area of the central base, and was surrounded by audiences that could accommodate hundreds of thousands of people. The audience was filled with people, and countless images set the game against each other, and the live broadcast signal covered the entire alliance. Lin Hao opened the E-17 and entered the scene. The old armor looked a little shabby under the sun, but the blue light made people unable to move their eyes. Who is this? You dare to fight again with a broken bullet armor? Are you not afraid of being caught in the eyes? Someone in the audience complained in a low voice. Don't worry, this is Lin Hao. I heard that he had been killed all the way from the pre-season, and the military players had beaten several of them. The battle was very fierce. Another audience member whispered in a low voice, full of his face. Lin Hao ignored these discussions and his eyes were locked in the opposite area. There, Zhao Lei's new armor has already arrived, his whole body is pitch black and his lines are flowing. The weapon system is scattering energy fluctuations. You can tell that it is expensive by looking at the sales appearance. He sneered through the communication channel, Waste, I didn't expect you to really climb to this point. But today is your final point. I want to crush you in front of everyone. Crush me? Come on, don't just say it's not practice. Lin Hao replied, and his mouth squirted, and his fighting spirit was filled with direct desire. The referee's voice was heard on the broadcast. The top level A game is decided, now it starts. Both players, enter the battlefield. The sound just fell, the simulated war system started, and the ground changed into a complex terrain, with ruins, highlands, and random refresh of virtual enemy armor to increase the difficulty of the competition. Lin Hao entered the battlefield in the first time, his control machine armor was moving like a ghost, quickly occupying a favorable terrain, and began to observe the direction of the thunder. Zhao Lei was not vague. His armor was extremely fast and reached the center of the battle in the blink of an eye. The weapon system opened directly and an energy cannon rushed straight to Lin Hao's hiding place. Lin Hao had already prepared for it, so he flipped over and hid from the side, and then covered the ruins and raked it to the side, and punched Zhao Lei's armored legs with a heavy punch. Bang! The punch was carrying blue light, which was amazing, and directly made Zhao Lei's armor stumble, but the defense of the new armor was indeed strong, and there was only a clean plot mark on the armor. Waste, is this your full strength? Don't look. Zhao Lei sneered, and the armor accelerated suddenly, and the alloy blade in his hand rushed for a few seconds, forcing Lin Hao to retreat. Lin Hao gritted his teeth and knew in his heart that it was absolutely not an option to fight hard. Although his armor is supported by the core module, his hardware foundation is too poor and he can't stand it even after a long period of high-strength combat. He quickly adjusted his strategy and began to use the terrain to wander, and occasionally sneaked into the slash, making his thunder increasingly anxious. Hide? You know how to hide? Are you a mouse? Zhao Lei was furious and simply ignored it. The energy of the armor was fully opened, and the electromagnetic interference wave was released, which directly made Lin Hao's armor system lose its power for a short period of time. It's bad. Lin Hao felt nervous, and as he watched Zhao Lei's energy cannon have been charged, he rushed to himself. He bit his teeth tightly and knocked down the control keys. He relied on his mind to connect with the core module to reboot the system, flip the hair one side at once, and avoided this blow. Steel! The cannon exploded behind him, lifting up a dust of soil. Lin Hao gasped heavily, his heartbeat accelerated, but his eyes became brighter and brighter. He could feel that the core module was completely synchronized with him at this moment, and the blue light burst, and the energy output of the armor directly poured into an exaggerated level. "Old guy, let's get on." Lin Hao growled, and the control armor accelerated suddenly, like a wild horse that was shattered, and rushed away with thunder. Every move he made was amazing, and he used his fists and his feet to force Zhao Lei's new armor to beat him up. The blue light collided with the black armor, making a harsh collision sound. The audience was stunned and burst into amazement. How can this broken armor have such power? Someone couldn't help but shout. "Lin Hao! Isn't Zhao Lei a genius in the military? Why was he hit by the pressure?" Another audience member was so excited that he slapped his thighs. Zhao Lei's face became increasingly difficult. He didn't expect that Lin Hao could explode such a battle, and his new armor would not be able to take the other side for a while. He gritted his teeth and roared through the communication channel, "Waste, do you really think you can win me? Be a dream." As he said, he suddenly activated the ultimate weapon system of the armor, and a large energy beam directly hit Lin Hao, which was more than several times stronger than the previous attack. Lin Hao's pupils shrank, knowing that he could not hide in the shock. He simply did not hide and suddenly concentrated all the armor energy on the core module. The blue light was dazzling in an instant, like a burning flame. He growled, "Come on, who are you afraid of?" Then the control armor was slammed on the front, and his right fist exploded with unprecedented power, directly collide with the light column. Strange. The huge shock waves swept the whole audience, and smoke rose everywhere, and everyone in the audience closed their eyes subconsciously. When the smoke dissipated, everyone was stunned. Although Lin Hao's E-17 was severely broken, he was still standing, while Zhao Lei's armor was half kneeling on the ground, and the weapon system was experiencing black smoke, and it was obvious that the energy had exceeded. How is it possible? Zhao Lei's voice was unwilling to accept it, and his shock could be heard through the communication channel. Lin Hao gasped and sat in the driving force and grinned. "Nothing is impossible, that's the way the military genius is." After speaking, he controlled the machine armor and walked over, looked at Zhao Lei from a high place, and added, "Remember, today I'm not just you, but the helper behind you." The referee reacted only then and announced through the broadcast, "The game is over. The advantage, Lin Hao." A thunderous cry broke out in the scene, and countless visitors shouted Lin Hao's name. Some even directly rushed down the audience, wanting to take a closer look at this reverse black horse. Lin Hao crawled out of the machine armor, sweating all over his head, but his face was full of smiles. He knew that this battle not only won the competition, but also won his own dignity. But he didn't plan to end. He turned to the battle stand, where there were several high-level soldiers, and his faces were harder to see. Lin Hao directly opened the channel and the sound was spread throughout the audience through the live broadcast. "Everyone, after winning the competition, I have a few words to say. The military high-level, aren't you always fair? Then why are the high-level motor armor parts only available to you? Why are we the bottom-level men only able to open the broken motor armor to fight the battlefield and be cannon fodder?" As soon as this happened, the whole scene calmed down in an instant, and everyone was stunned. The live broadcast signal will send all this to all parts of the alliance, and countless viewers will discuss through the screen. Also, the core module of my machine armor is a translator that I dug out in the ruins. It is said that it can double the combat power of the machine armor, but why does the army hide its existence? Are you afraid that these bottom-level people will become stronger and will hinder your status? Lin Hao continued to say, his voice getting louder and louder, and every word is like a knife, piercing the army's high-level heart. The high-level face on the battle station was blue. Someone suddenly stood up and said to the person next to him, "This kid is looking for death. Close the live broadcast immediately and control the scene." But it was too late. Lin Hao's words seemed to ignite a bomb, and the emotions of the audience were instantly detonated. Someone shouted, "That's right. Why are we only being cannon fodder?" More people agreed, and the sound waves came one after another. Several soldiers of the army couldn't help but lower their heads, with complex expressions on their faces. Although the live broadcast signal was urgently shut down, the news has been released. At this time, Xiaopeng hurried to Lin Hao, holding the data in his hand, and shivered with excitement. "Haozi, it's exploded online. Many people are calling for you, saying that they want to investigate the dark side of the army. Several retired veterans came forward to prove that what you said is true." After hearing this, Lin Hao grinned and turned to look at Lao Wang. Lao Wang pointed his head and saw a flash of appreciation in his eyes. "Boy, you did a good job. This battle not only won Rong Yao, but also forced them to the corner of the wall." Sure enough, it took not long before the army was forced to send someone to respond. A white-haired man walked onto the stage and announced with a difficult face, "We will conduct an investigation and publish relevant documents regarding the allegations of Lin Hao's competitor. If there is indeed injustice, we will give everyone an explanation." Although this sounds like perfunctory, it is already a huge step. The audience burst into shouting again, and Lin Hao's name was shouted to the extreme. He stood in the middle of the venue, feeling this unprecedented glory, and his heart was extremely calm. He knew that all this was just the beginning, and true fairness had to be fought with more people. A few days later, the army was forced to pay attention to the pressure and made some distribution records of the motor armor parts public, and promised to gradually release resources so that the bottom layer motor armor hands could also access better equipment. Lin Hao's name became a legend in the alliance. For countless young people, they regarded him as an idol and joined the team of the armor warriors just to follow his steps. Lin Hao, together with Xiaopeng and Lao Wang, opened a machine amenity repair and training center around the base. They not only help the high-level men repair the armor, but also teach them fighting skills for free, with the goal of allowing everyone with dreams to stand on the battlefield and win their own honor. "Haozi, do you think we are changing the world?" Xiaopeng rubbed the parts of the armor and asked with a smile. Lin Hao leaned against the door frame, looked at the young man who was in full swing on the training ground, and grinned. "I don't know if it's counting or not, but I know that we at least make this world a little more fair." Lao Wang pointed a little on the side, and couldn't smile. "Boy, the road is still long, don't slack off." "Don't worry, Lao Wang, I'm not afraid of the boss. As long as this old guy is accompanying me, you can get through any difficult things." Lin Hao patted the E-17 beside him, and the blue light flashed, as if responding to his words. Under the sunset, the laughter of the training ground and the low-headed horses intertwined together, forming a hot and bloody and warm picture. Lin Hao knew that no matter how many challenges he had in the future, he would not retreat. Because he had used his two hands to tear open the shackles of life and ushered in a new era that belonged to him.